Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day or night, whatever it is, where you're at. It's Monday, July 25th, 2 p.m. Eastern here. We have a little bit of short-term weakness in the broader stock market. Daily consolidation continuing for the NASDAQ, as we can see. I appreciate you all tuning in. Let's get some likes and let me know where you're tuning in from. We're going to look at crypto. There's some falling wedges that are potentially shaping up. Go over a trade review that I did over the weekend for Ethereum, and we'll look forward to where we stand. Very fundamentally weighted week where we've got big tech sector earnings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the big major players, and we've got FOMC Wednesday, and we've got GDP on Thursday. So for me personally, being a technical trader, I'm trading a lot less this week. If you give me the most fundamentally packed week of the year as a technical trader, I'm going to be trading a lot less. So that's how I'm approaching the week, and we'll look to get back into it on reactions to all these fundamental events. So the NASDAQ's pulling back. We're looking for a daily higher low to form. We are watching our retracement size on this pullback, and it's still fairly healthy overall as far as the move that we saw before the consolidation began, and EMA 12 support catching up. So bigger picture, we're watching, are we going to set a weekly lower high? And that's the question that we have in crypto as well. Are we setting weekly lower highs in the short term? If we are, then the NASDAQ's going to pull back, and we're going to look to see, can we hold the fear low to try and set up an inverse head and shoulders trend change. And if we are not setting our weekly lower highs, then bulls need to maintain the daily uptrend and get over 12,943. And the reaction to earnings Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is going to dictate how much of a pullback we see here and whether or not this retracement size remains healthy to favor continuation, or if it's more significant and then begins to favor a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. I'm a bit impressed. Right now, the S&P 500, this is the NASDAQ, the S&P 500 has not started daily consolidation yet. And I'm impressed with bulls' resiliency, just because, again, you would think after seeing a bounce with zero daily consolidation, knowing the backdrop of 8%, the fact that we're not seeing enough profit taking for daily consolidation to be underway is notable to me. Just because we've got, again, so many unknown fundamental events this week, and maybe that daily consolidation is shaping up now. We'll have to see, but I'm surprised that we have not broken the higher low every single day pattern yet on the S&P 500. So right now in the short term, the NASDAQ just set an hourly lower high and is heading down to test the low of the day. So potential for the hourly downtrend to continue. I have a couple day trade bearish positions that are open that I need to be keeping an eye on. I've got NASDAQ bearish, and I got the biotech sector bearish. Biotech sector was just a nice little tightening 5-minute range. Entered bearish here, stop over the high, and now we're rolling over. Took half profit, but XBI could set an hourly higher low. Anything above? 79.42. So just watching the hourly downtrends as our guides for the broader stock market. And pretty much the hourly time frame for stocks is the same as as the 4-hour time frame for crypto. And if you think about it, there's 6.5 hours in the trading day for stocks. 1 divided by 6.5 is 15 point whatever percent. 4 hours out of the 24 hours in the trading day for crypto is 15%. So that's the best way to slice it up evenly. Bitcoin is weaker than the NASDAQ. So we know we had this sideways range that finally broke bull once Bitcoin started to get some bounce follow through, but it was short-lived. This for the crypto bulls is a tally in the bear column because we are seeing relative weakness. And again, it's the kind of thing, for me as a trader with access to both markets, am I going to be looking to trade Bitcoin bullish, or am I looking other places to trade bullish? And if Bitcoin is weaker than the S&P, or I should say than the NASDAQ, then I'm certainly going to be looking other places. So we're watching to see, is this just a weekly bear flag? I mean, it's the same question. Is Bitcoin a weekly bear flag? Is the Bitcoin divided by NASDAQ correlation chart, relative strength and weakness chart, is that a bear flag? Dominance chart pulling back to the recent lows. So this shows us that altcoins are consolidating a little bit more significantly than Bitcoin over the last 4 days. That's not very surprising. So Bitcoin. We saw a bear break with zero follow through into a bounce this morning. And now the fact that the NASDAQ is testing the low, we're heading back down towards the low of the day for Bitcoin as well. Very simple guide for our hourly lower highs. We could say the bears have absolute control in the short term as long as hourly lower highs keep forming. We just formed another one at 22,000. And hourly EMA 12 is a nice short-term guide as well. If we can see a hold of this support and a bull break, then a 4-hour falling wedge is shaping up. Because that would be, again, a bear break with zero follow-through in this pattern. And actually, it's a bit of a channel. You could draw it multiple ways. I'd probably be leaving it as a channel personally. That one's pretty good too. I like that line. We'll stick with that. But I only care about this pattern if we break this hourly range bull. Because again, the premise of a falling wedge is bear breaks lack follow through, showing us bear exhaustion. So if we see the hourly lower highs continue and fresh lows, then that's bears following through. And I won't care about the falling wedge anymore. If we see hourly EMA 12 resistance turning into support and a bull break, then we'll be heading back up to look for a 12-hour lower high. I have been finding a lot of clarity on the 12-hour time frame for Bitcoin. And this helped me with the Ethereum trade that we're about to go over. But a very clear lower high, lower low pattern. Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. So bears have midterm control as long as we're in a 12-hour downtrend. Essentially, I'm watching for a 12-hour trend change back to the bulls to mark a 2-day higher low. Anything above 18.9 would be a 2-day higher low. The daily for me is losing a little bit of clarity. So I'm sticking with the 12-hour and the 2-day and the 4-hour. But again, I need that bull break in the short term here if I'm going to be watching for this falling wedge to be possible. So Ethereum holding on better than Bitcoin, but little higher lows on the 12-hour, so big difference, 12-hour uptrend versus a 12-hour downtrend. But the bull breaks are lacking follow-through, which again is not surprising, because if we're breaking bull and Bitcoin is still seeing weakness, then we're not going to anticipate much follow-through. So if we break 1487, the 12-hour higher lows are lost. And actually, need to adjust my stop level because my stop right now is at 1500, but I want to be going off 1487. I'm going to adjust that right after this. So can we maintain the 12-hour uptrend is the question for Ethereum in the short term. It's a potential 4-hour bear flag. If the 4-hour bear flag confirms, the 12-hour uptrend has been lost. It'll be a clear rejection from weekly EMA 12 resistance. And again, at that point, I'll be on the 2-day time frame, scouting a 2-day higher low from where we came from. So that's the big question for crypto. Are our weekly lower highs set? And if you look at Bitcoin, it's a lot more possible than Ethereum right now. And again, it's a very weak bounce overall. So do I think the bottom is in? Honestly, I can't say. And anybody that is guessing is guessing. And there's nothing wrong with putting together an educated guess, but there are scenarios where there's no point in me even guessing. I'm just watching one day at a time, and really what it boils down to is what's the broader market going to do this week to all this fundamental data? If it's a bearish reaction to the broader market fundamental data, the probabilities that Bitcoin is a bear flag to head back towards recent lows will increase fairly significantly. So I'm waiting for that information before I make any guesses. And we have to see these bulls. I mean, we have to get over weekly EMA 12. If Bitcoin and these altcoins don't get over weekly EMA 12, then big picture, the bears still have control, still have pretty firm control. There are some altcoins that have bounced significantly enough where even if we set the lower high here, Matic is an example. Matic's bounced enough where even if we topped out, we're looking for a weekly high or low. And even Ethereum, to a certain degree, even if we reject from weekly EMA 12, we can pull back 30%, more than that, but we can pull back 35% and still be looking for a weekly high or low. So I don't know is the answer. And I position myself knowing that I don't know. I position myself in low risk scenarios with stop losses where if the bounce continues, I will continue to benefit. And if this is the top of the bounce, I'm not going to give back much of the profit from the initial bounce that we've made over the last month. So the trade that I took for Ethereum over the weekend was just watching the 12-hour uptrend and knowing that anything above 1463 was a 12-hour high or low. And then I was watching this falling wedge on Saturday or whenever it was. Saturday, which was the 23rd. So it was this one here. And I was just keeping an eye on, at that point in time, we were still holding this level. So I was watching something like this. Bitcoin, at this point in time, Bitcoin's hourly was a bit more clear of a falling wedge. But I made my entry here at 1521, and I placed my stop under 1463. This was reloading half of what I had sold on the way up. So I sold 3/4 of my swing position at weekly EMA 12 resistance, just under it, and that was in the 1570s, 1580s. And so I reloaded half of that in the 1520s, and this was a bit of an anti-FOMO type position where I would stop out if the 12-hour higher lows were lost, and if we kept the 12-hour higher lows, then I would be back in some position for the bounce that we did end up seeing. After the size of this bounce, I was looking at Bitcoin and anticipating, okay, the most likely scenario for me on Bitcoin is a 12-hour lower high, anything under 23.7. So at this point in time, as we're trading right here on Bitcoin, Ethereum's testing its high. And so I'm saying to myself, I'm thinking Bitcoin is most likely going to give us a 12-hour lower high. So I'm selling half of my Ethereum from 1523 to 1621. And I was selling under this resistance of 1646 just in case we rejected. So that then gives me a break even on that trade of whatever it is, low 14s. So can't lose that trade at that point now that I've sold half. And I'm still in that half with the stop under 1500. As I mentioned, I'm going to move it under 1487. So essentially, if we keep the 12-hour uptrend, I will remain in a partial position and have some exposure. And if we lose the 12-hour uptrend, I will stop out with a win. It won't be a huge win, but it'll be 2.5% on the trade. So I'm just letting it play out from here. But just a little weekend trade. I haven't taken a weekend trade in a while. And again, swing trade perspective, because I'm not going to give my weekend to the charts. So short term, it's all about the hourly. If it breaks bull, we watch the 4-hour falling wedge, and we watch the Ethereum 12-hour higher lows. ETH, actually, one note, another ebook. This one's a repeat if you've already checked it out, but 4 top exit strategies. So one of my exit strategies, posting it in the chat room here, and I'll post it in the comments of the video, but one of my exit strategies was the underlying Bitcoin, most likely scenario of a 12-hour lower high, Ethereum testing resistance, and essentially that was the biggest reason for exiting a partial position there. So ETH BTC has been real strong. Another reason that I entered that Ethereum trade when I did was this 4-hour tightening range and entered for the possibility that it breaks bull and heads right back to our high, which it did. So that was a big factor in helping the Ethereum trade play out. But we're weakening a little bit. And if we confirm a 4-hour bear flag on ETH BTC, daily consolidation will then be underway. Big picture, this bounce on ETH BTC, weekly perspective, is far exceeding my expectations when I entered Ethereum under 1,000 on that bear flush. I was looking for ETH BTC weekly EMA 12 target, and we're way over that. So that was impressive from the bulls, but got to be watching for the potential of daily consolidation shaping up. And essentially, if ETH BTC starts daily consolidation, I am almost certain that I will be stopping out of my Ethereum position and back to all cash. At that point, I'd be back to all cash in my trading account and waiting for clarity. And I'd still be scouting a 2-day higher low in the crypto space, but not very aggressively because, again, fundamental weak here and waiting for those reactions. So while we're on the subject of 4-hour falling wedges, there's a handful of them. So just want to be keeping an eye on them. And just going back to the list that I posted this morning. So let's just check out some of these 4-hour falling wedges quickly. And then we'll look at some other tightening setups that are worth watching. So this is ICP USDT. You can see it's already over its initial bounce high, which we're looking for Bitcoin to attempt to do. And if we reject from this downtrending resistance line, it's just another 12-hour lower high shaping up here. So keeping an eye on that. DOT is another one where it's nice and clear. Bear breaks lacking follow through, and we actually broke bear another time since I drew this with no follow through. Have to get some bounce going if we're going to keep this alive. Sol, 4-hour falling wedge watch. SHIB, 4-hour falling wedge watch. So these are the ones that stood out to me, and I went through my whole list here and just highlighting the names that very clearly stood out to me as potential 4-hour falling wedges. And now Bitcoin is shaping that possibility up as well. Sushi is standing out today. A lot of volume came in on Binance. And so you look at Sushi's. Have we changed trends? Did see a little meh. I wouldn't say we've changed the 4-hour trend yet. So I was looking for Sushi news, and I didn't come across any. Didn't look very long and hard. But you can see here the volume just poured in. And then from that point, we're getting some notable follow through. So Sushi on the 2-day time frame is potentially shaping up a higher low. And so we need to see bulls regain some of these trends. 4-hour trend change back to the bulls needed for the 2-hour higher low to be set. But you can see here this downtrend resistance line we've clearly broken above. So Sushi trying to lead the way. And any name that has a 4-hour falling wedge that we just looked at certainly wants to see this. Other names that are worth keeping an eye on. So Ape is in a nice tightening range, and it's close to breaking bear now. So I'm watching Ape on the 12-hour, and we had a double top at the high and a double bottom at the low. And here we are heading back to the lows to test support. And if 612 breaks this double bottom, daily consolidation will then become a bit more significant. And that will then be creating space for a potential daily lower high. Well, I won't say that yet. Let's take it one step at a time. 12-hour is in a tightening range and heading to a support test. An aggressive bull is looking for a possible bottom fish. It's an hourly stair-step drop. So we're not hourly oversold, which I would like to see on a bottom fishing play. But if Bitcoin can shape up this hourly bull break, then Ape will look to hold 612 support, at least initially. And then we'll look for an hourly lower high to be the most likely result there. But keeping an eye on Ape in this tightening range. And Binance is another one that has a tightening range here. So Binance 12-hour fading back to support. Again, it's just a clear 12-hour equilibrium. High, low, lower high, higher, low, lower high. And now right on top of support. So if 252 breaks, we confirm at that point weekly consolidation will be very close to shaping up. Higher low every single week on this bounce. Weekly EMA 12 resistance overhead. This is why one of my targets, or this is why my target was weekly EMA 12, because you very often reject initially. And even if we, set up a weekly trend change eventually, that pullback from the initial weekly EMA 12 resistance rejection is fairly significant. So Binance is close to shifting. We're testing the support. We would have to break both levels, 252 and 250. Binance BTC is up near the all-time high. But the question is, are we just going to set a monthly lower high here? The daily time frame, we are watching something like this little channel. So the BTC pairing is still staying strong on the daily, but keeping an eye out for a potential daily lower high. And if Binance BTC sets a daily lower high, that means to me that Binance USDT is likely seeing weekly consolidation. So that's what bears are looking for. Bears at this point are looking for weekly consolidation on names that have had some significant bounce over the last month. Matic is another name. You can see the lighting behind me is just slowly darkening as this storm comes in. Matic is tightening up as well. Right on top of support, 12-hour equilibrium. I much prefer to enter bearish on the bounce, looking for the lower high, than on the support break. But if I did make a bearish entry on a support break, it's the kind of scenario where I'm exiting half fairly quickly to give my break even a good amount of wiggle room. It's a kind of scenario where, if I want to look bearish on Matic and Binance for these 12-hour equilibriums, I want support to hold here, and I want to scout a 4-hour lower high. And I want that to be my entry for a much better risk-reward setup. So same thing for Binance. I want to hold support here, and I want to scout the lower high compared to the previous lower high. So it's up to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's got to break this little tightening hourly range bull for 12-hour supports to hold on these tightening names to then be scouting the lower highs on the 4-hour time frame or a different time frame. NASDAQ heading towards a low of the day support test. All right, I'm done talking. Would I ever enter Ethereum at 15.15 to play the equilibrium? Let's see. If I were... Yeah, I would. It's not a significant amount of risk. It's a tight little stop loss there. What instantly went through my head there was, well, a big fundamental week. And so I know Tuesday and Wednesday are going to be significantly subjective to broader market stock reactions to earnings in the FOMC. Also, again, cautious of weekly consolidation after a lot of these altcoins have bounced 60, 70% plus. So I would be much more comfortable if we were looking for an Ethereum daily high or low right now and had an hourly tightening range. Essentially, if it would have also depend on what my recent performance was. If I'm coming off a real nice swing trade on Ethereum and I just had a weekend trade for a win, then I'm much more prone to give a low risk trade an attempt. But if I've lost my last 2 trades and I'm in a little bit of a rut and I'm trying to get some flow state and some consistency back, then this wouldn't be high enough probability for me or high enough confidence that I would take it. Do I ever consider the fact that I don't short crypto that it creates a bullish bias in my analysis? I don't believe so. Because I'm always, when I say that I'm selling Ethereum, I'm selling half of Ethereum, that is the same thing as saying, hey, bear's looking for a potential top fish entry. So I definitely, in my language, the language that I use, it's more from a bull's perspective more. But that doesn't mean that I'm overly leaning and giving the bulls more credit than they deserve. So the language of my analysis will be from a bull's perspective, but how many times have I been not bullish? That just means I'm bearish. And I'm also starting to trade BILI more, which is the bearish ETF in the stock world for Bitcoin. And so that has been useful as well. You got it, Colin. SRE. I don't know what SRE is, so no. We're not looking at stocks right now. The miners are pulling back. The crypto miners are pulling back on the daily time frame. And essentially lower high and then a break of short-term support. Did not see much follow through. Riot is a little bit weaker than MARA. But essentially looking for the same thing as Bitcoin, looking for a 2-day higher low or a daily. It's clear enough on these names to be looking for a daily higher low. I would just view this all as the same move up. Now we're starting the daily consolidation. Hourly trend change back to the bulls needed. We have not seen hourly oversold conditions yet. YFI. Very different look than many other names. Weekly resistance of 80.88, and we topped out at 74.61. Notable weekday today. If we drop down and break 62.93, we lose the daily uptrend, and weekly consolidation will then be shaping up for a tightening weekly range. I would be viewing it as the low, high of the bounce, little higher low at 53. That would be a lower high, and then 53 would be a very key short-term level, because if that breaks, then we're just looking right back to the low again. How do I play tightening ranges? So our equilibrium, I guess our equilibrium video is on our membership website. If you're a ChartGuys member, there's a very in-depth equilibrium video to check out. But just a real quick answer, I look to play the lower highs. So just same as a trend. You know, if I'm in a downtrend, so today on QQQ, we started the morning weak, and as soon as I see that weakness, I short this 5-minute lower high, playing off the high of the day resistance. If the high of the day breaks, I stop out. But we didn't. We set a 5-minute lower high. So if we're in a tightening range, biotech sector had an equilibrium this morning. If I have a directional lean where I feel the break is going to happen on the longer term time frame, so here's the high, low of the day, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low. So if I think we're going to break bull, I'm playing off support. And then I sell partial, anticipating that we're going to reject from resistance and remain within a tightening range, and now I'm risk free. And I put my stop under the low, and if the tightening range breaks bear, I stop out. So I do the same partial position, and generally I will want to have a bias in terms of what I feel the most likely scenario is as far as the direction that the equilibrium will break. And that depends on what the longer term time frame is doing. So you play off, you buy off support and you short resistance once it's clear that there's an equilibrium shaping up. And you are confident that an equilibrium is shaping up once you have an extreme move in both directions. A big drop and a big, that was too big. A big drop and a big bounce, an equilibrium is the most likely scenario. A big bull move and a big pullback, an equilibrium is the most likely scenario. And once you get a few of those points, you know, once you're here, you're confident in that lower high. And then you're confident in a higher low. And of course, if it doesn't happen, then you stop out fairly quickly. What ChartGuys videos would I recommend to everyone that would help with crypto? I mean, there's no distinguishing between crypto and stocks if you're talking technical analysis. Every video on technical analysis applies to all markets for sure. So don't limit, you know, if you're wondering how do I trade crypto better with technical analysis, you don't have to look up crypto technical analysis videos. You're just looking up technical analysis. And that's why I was able to seamlessly enter the crypto space as a trader. It's because I had the 7 years of stock trading technical analysis, and it was a seamless transition. It's the same thing. There's some little nuances which I talk about in the video transitioning from crypto to stocks, where I talk about the differences between the two. So that would be a video to check out where I talk about the differences. And that on our YouTube channel is If you just chart guys, crypto to stocks. There she blows. It's a long one. I think it's an hour. Retail trading is not. Best lesson learned from 2022 so far, applying correlations and relative strength and weakness that I learned in crypto with altcoins, applying that to stocks and different sectors. Am I doing the fitness challenge? No, I do not need to lose weight. Thanks, Julian. NIF USDT, I'm assuming it's too low volume. Yeah, no chance. No chance. I'm not going anywhere near this name. Total hourly volume this hour on KuCoin is $8,000. If I wanted to, I could make this go like this right now. If one person can influence a chart because it is low volume and low liquidity, I won't go anywhere near it. I need millions of dollars traded a day for it to be liquid enough. Hey, we got over 100 likes. Thanks, everyone. I've gotten some comments on the shirt recently by the opposite gender. ADA, okay, so let's check in on some BTC pairing charts that I'm viewing as a grouping. LTC BTC is attempting a weekly trend change. It's been in a prolonged downtrend. If the bulls were able to pull off a weekly trend change, which they have a lot of work to do, but if they pull this off, it'll be the first weekly uptrend in years of this pairing. ADA BTC is the same story. It hasn't been as long a downtrend, but it's the same weekly setup trying to change the trend. So LTC, ADA, and there's one more. LTC, ADA. Come on. Mana. So they're all struggling to set the, well, they've set the weekly high or low. They're struggling to head back to resistance. I'm keeping an eye on these because, again, these are names that have been relatively weaker for a while, and they're trying for the first BTC pairing weekly uptrend in a while. So I'm not doing anything in terms of entering any trades or anything with this information, but I'm just observing. And if the bulls can start to prove it, it will definitely, they will get my attention, but we're not at that point right now. Just observation for me. I check in on them every day, and the bulls still have a lot of work to do. How come I don't play 15 or 30-minute back burners? Probability. I mean, I'll play 15. No, probability. I find that the higher probability time frames are the 5-minute and the hourly. Doesn't mean the other ones won't work, but if you're giving a sample size of 100, in my opinion, you're going to have better success with the 5 and the hourly than those other time frames. All right, we're going to wrap it up here soon to see how stocks close the end of the day. NASDAQ is attempting to defend the low of the day support. CRV, size of this daily consolidation is shaping up a potential head and shoulders. So we're still in a daily uptrend. Anything above 110 is a daily high or low, but we are creating space where even if we hold the daily uptrend, we have to be cautious of the lower high and of the right shoulder forming. And if I look at the size of pullbacks that we've seen on this entire move up, I can see this pullback was 19%, this pullback was 21%, and this pullback is about 21%. So any further, and I can say the probability of a daily lower high will be higher than either of these pullbacks. because we will have more space to work with for bears to attempt that daily lower high. Again, you have to think of, who would be attempting a daily lower high next bounce? Bears that are looking for the top fish, but also bulls. Imagine I'm a bull and I really liked where my account was at when we were up at 150, and I'm holding as long as we're in a daily uptrend. Man, we've given back almost 20% from there. I should have sold more. All right, well, next time we bounce, there's my second chance. We're up to 145. I'm going to take some off. That's where overhead pressure comes from as well. It's from bulls that get a second chance after realizing, I probably wanted to take a little bit more profit, because it doesn't feel good seeing the account pull back 20% from where it was a few days ago. So 4 hours in a downtrend, we need a 4-hour trend change back to the bulls. And then we have to be cautious of a potential daily lower high being the result of the next bounce. What oversold conditions do I wait for in the bear market? It's not up to one time frame. I need multiple time frames aligning in oversold conditions. And it depends on what I'm looking for on the longer term time frame. If I'm looking for a daily high or low, if you give me hourly, 15-minute, and 5-minute all oversold, I'm going to be interested in looking for a bounce. If we're in a daily downtrend, I am not interested in looking for a bounce in that same environment. So the trend is the most important factor in terms of which time frames do I care about oversold conditions on. And at this point, I really only care about 4-hour oversold in crypto. Once we hit it, Bitcoin has already seen hourly oversold and we bounced from there. So that uses it up. All right, I'm not really caring about hourly oversold anymore. Now I'm keeping an eye out for first 4-hour oversold conditions from this significant move up. All right, I appreciate you all tuning in. I got to get ready for an end of day stock live stream. So, in summary, Bitcoin bulls need to break this short-term range bullish. If they do, the 4-hour falling wedge gains a little bit of validity for me. We have a handful of altcoins that are also in 4-hour falling wedges. We've got tightening ranges on Binance, Matic, and someone else, Ape. If we get the Bitcoin bounce, we'll be holding 12-hour supports in those names, but we'll be scouting the 4-hour lower highs to be the result of that bounce. Bears are starting to position for the potential of weekly consolidation. Determine today and tomorrow, do you want to be holding positions through these fundamental reactions, through the FOMC on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern? You can set a stop loss and try and let it play out. There's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of any new trades that you are entering, that's a factor in your brain, and it's a factor in part of your trade game plan. Check out the free ebook about exit strategies, and have a good day, and do good things.